And I expressed my interest in this product. I said, a lady named Karen came to our house to show your product over the weekend, left us a tape. We wanted to view the tape for a longer period of time. She took it back, was very upset with me for keeping it. Can you please send me another tape? And he said, well, you're saying Karen? And I'm saying, yes, Karen. He says, well, I have no Karen working for me. He goes, there is a Bruce that works for me in that area. You sure it wasn't a man? I says, no, it was a lady named Karen. Fine, I'll send you a copy of the tape. Then a short while after that, we had a sheriff come to our house looking for us. We weren't there. We had a PTA meeting. My boys told us.
And then you got served with
served after, yep. Okay. And then I went down to the courthouse and filed for a jury trial, figuring I'm going to get this thing out in the open.
Okay, now I got you.
Bingo.
And it would be fair to say that in your conversation with Mr. you voiced some displeasure with the salesperson.
Absolutely.
You did. You said, I don't like the way I'm being treated. I didn't like the way I was treated.
No, I'm a sales manager, Your Honor, and I think when you want to make a sale, you're nice to people.
Bruce and Karen, same person?
Yes.
Okay, so that's both you. Mm-hmm. Now, when you went to work for this gutter cover company, did you interview with this Mr.?
Yes. I actually did sales before I ever met him, and then...
For the same company?
Yeah, I was working for the previous franchisor, and he came down after that. I sold several deals before that.
When you interviewed and worked for them previously, you worked for them as Bruce.
Right.
To your knowledge, did this Mr. know that you were also Karen?
We had talked about it. I called the office and said that there would be a person as Karen out there, and that my hair was long, and that people do see me as a woman.
You intend to maintain that persona?
Yes.
My problem, Ms. Hesevic, is that you seem to ascribe some behavior to the defendants, which is actionable. Why do you believe that they do not have a right to call your employer and say, I'm dissatisfied with the kind of treatment that I got from your rep. I like the product. I'm interested in buying the product. And if your employer decides, for whatever reason, to let you go, why do you feel as if you have the right to sue the defendants?
Because when I talked to Steve on Tuesday, he told me that the severity of their complaint against me was such that he had to believe that they were telling the truth. I told him they were not telling the truth, and then I told him exactly what happened. And as she said, she told me to come out and pick up the tape. On the phone call, she did not say that. She hung up on me. And I have copies of the phone call that was made to him. He said I made several threatening phone calls.
You went out there to get the tape?
Yes.
No, I said nasty grams. I didn't say phone call.
Nasty grams?
Yeah, on my cell phone.
When you went out there to get the tape, tell me what happened.
Well, I got out of my car. Their kids yelled from the top of the deck that the lady from the gutter is here. And I heard her yelling at her kids, I don't want to talk to her. Tell them to go down to the basement door and talk to the father. And so they came out and told me that. So I went around under the deck into the basement door that they have there. He opened the door part way and handed me the tape, and he said some remarks to me, and I said, well, you promised to have it back to me by 5 p.m. on Saturday. I said, you never called? He said, oh yes I did, but I was at home from 3 o'clock all the way till 10 o'clock at night. There wasn't one phone call. I have a message machine on my machine.
There you go. That's why you didn't answer it.
And
sorry.
No messages were even left.
Nope. That's
so?
good.
So, yeah.
So?
And yeah, so he didn't call to say he wasn't going to meet me. He could have left a message machine on there. He knew that the
So what did you say to him?
He made some comments, and then I told him that I had to use that for sales, and that as he knew I had appointments on Monday morning. I didn't get the tape till 7 o'clock Monday night.
And?
So he says, well, you're losing more business.
You forget the golden credo.
Yeah.
Which is the customer's always right.
Want me to deliver the damn tape? I'm sorry.
The customer's always right. Because you had a real live customer there. You had a customer who was really interested in your product.
$6 grand.
Listen.
I'm sorry.
That's a hothead. Let me ask you this question. Why didn't you call Gutter and have them give you another tape?
I had sent a memo up to him on Monday morning saying that I need another tape.
Why didn't you go there?
Oh, they're out of Seattle, and I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, so they have to send it to you.
Yeah.
Why did you wait until you were down to your last tape?
I only had one tape all the time.
Well, that sounds like a not very good policy. What happens if
that's
that tape?
all the company gives.
Well, that's kind of stupid.
Right, yeah.
You don't have a cause of action, Ms. Hesevic. He has an absolute right to call the company and say, I don't like her attitude. I don't like the way she spoke to me. I was interested in your product. I'm still interested in your product. He's not trying to put one over on these people. He's calling and saying, listen, your lady who you sent out here was rude. She took off. She doesn't want to do business with me. I'm still interested in doing business with your company. Send me another tape and send me another rep. And if by virtue of that statement, Mr. let you go as the rep for the company in your area, so be it. It may also have been that Mr., and I don't know, he's not here, was not happy about not knowing what gender person was going out. He thought it was one gender and it turned out to be a different gender. That's possible too. That coupled with what they said, listen, I don't need this aggravation. But they have a right to call.
Yes.
They have a right to make a complaint. That's what the First Amendment's all about. So your claim is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, what happened as a result of this individual not being honest.
Some people can lie and get away with it.
Honesty is the best policy. You know, she should have been honest, and she wasn't.
Donald Haig and his wife Donna are suing their ex-son-in-law, cabinet maker Chris Webster, for the cost of a washing machine and dryer.
Order. All rise. Yes, this is case number 315 on the calendar in the matter of Haig versus Webster. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Haig, this gentleman used to be your son-in-law. He's married to your daughter, and they have 2 children. Is that right?
Yes.
You are suing him for the balance owed on a washer and dryer that was purchased on your credit in 1994 when the defendant and your daughter were married. You bought it for about $1,000 from Sears. Is that right?
Yes.
And they were to pay off so much per month for the remainder of their natural lives. Well, then there came a time later on that you and your husband decided to buy a 2-family house with your daughter and her husband. And you did. In what year did you buy this 2-family house?
1995.
And in that 2-family house, 4 of you and the 2 grandchildren, also came the washer and dryer, which I assumed you all used. Is that right?
Yes.
And then there came some marital difficulty. And in the year, according to what I've read here, 2000, your daughter left.
Yes.
And Mr. and Mrs. Haig, you stayed in the house for a while. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you decided to buy them out of the house.
Yes.
Now, so from 1995 until 2002, this house was owned jointly, and everybody used the washer and dryer. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Webster, when your former wife left you, what happened to the children?
They stay with me and I take care of them.
And they're 2 boys.
Yes.
And how old were the children at the time?
3 and 5.
Was there a custody trial with regard to the children?
Yes. I mean, in the divorce. Yes, in the divorce.
So your former wife did at some point request custody of the children?
No. No.
She didn't. She did not?
No. She got remarried and went on her own life.
Okay. So there was never a dispute as to who would have custody of
No.
the children? Did there ever come a time when you had problems with your in-laws?
No, not until I couldn't take it no more at the house with them at the house and everything. So
What do you mean you couldn't take it anymore?
it was just him not working, me paying more money than I'd had to, me just paying more and more and more money. Something had to be done, and that's why I bought them out. And I thought that was going to be it.
How much money did they get when you bought them?
Exactly $23,900.
How much money did you put in, sir, as a down payment on the house?
$6,500.
And you walked away with $24,000, is that right?
That's right.
It was a good investment.
Yes, it was very good investment.
Very good. So, now let me ask you this question. What in the world are you doing here? You have 2 grandchildren that he's taking care of. That washer and dryer was paid over the last 8 years. There's no question about that. $25 here, $50 there. Everybody used the washer and dryer. The whole washer and dryer cost $1,000 8 years ago. You just closed a property where he's living with your grandchildren, and you made a handsome profit. You explain to me why, under those circumstances, you people would be foolhardy enough to come to court and sue him.
Okay, number 1, the bill wasn't paid.
Why didn't you pay it? You lived there, you used the washer and dryer. Why didn't you pay it?
Because I got sick.
Well, that's not his fault. He's got
no,
2
that
children
is
to take
that-
care of. You're
that
not
is-
his child.
that-
You got sick, you got sick.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with me? Or him, or your 2 grandchildren if you got sick.
Well, I got sick, and when I got sick, I told him that I wanted to sell the house before we got into this financial problem. He did not want to sell the house.
Just a second. You wanted to sell the house after your daughter left?
Yes, right after, actually before my daughter left, I wanted to sell the house.
He lives there with your grandchildren.
I wanted to have him buy me out or sell the house so that I didn't have any obligations in the house, because I went 3 years without getting any money.
So?
And I told him I couldn't afford to pay all the payments.
So he paid? Just a minute. So he paid? What you couldn't pay, he paid. Is that what you're telling me?
Not all of it.
I don't care all of it. I don't care of a piece of it. He's taking care of your 2 grandchildren. You're not related to him by blood. Your daughter goes and takes off with somebody else, remarries, has a happy life. He's staying there. He's watching your 2 grandchildren. He's got to take care of you. He's got to take care of your wife. And now you have the audacity to come to court and want a washer and dryer that you bought in 1994 that the whole family used? I don't understand you, Mr. Haig. Is there something wrong with you?
No, there isn't.
There's a lot wrong with you.
No, there isn't.
Oh, yeah, there is. Go ahead. You have 30 seconds to convince me, sir.
Okay, when we first bought it, they took and they paid all the bills. Chris and Deborah paid the bills.
Just a minute. Chris and Deborah, where was Deborah working?
At Safeway.
She was working after the 2 children were born?
Yes.
Yes. Full-time?
Part-time.
What was he doing?
He was working full-time as a carpenter.
So he's working full-time, she's working part-time at Safeway, and you're not
That's right.
working at all.
And I was working part-time myself, and it's
So the only one working full-time is him?
That's right.
All right.
Now, I told him that I was getting worse than what because of my condition. I told him that I wanted to liquidate my part of the house so that he wasn't responsible for me. And he did not want to sell the house. He did not want to buy the house. He said he would make up the difference in the bills. I sat down and I explained to him that when we sold the house, or when I got my SSDI, that I would pay him back.
So how much did you pay him back?
I paid him
$600.
I paid him back all the money that we owed.
Oh, did he pay you back?
No.
How much did he give you?
Okay. It came down to where I offered him $20,000 for a buyout. He wanted $25,000. And it got knocked down. I paid for the $2,500 when we all bought the house together. He got that out of me. Everything that they ever put anything in downstairs, money-wise, I gave him $1,500 because they spent $3,000. I gave him $1,500. And then he told me that he wanted me to sign and pay for this washer and dryer. At the time, I was just giving him so much money and just wanting him out of my life so that I can start over and just be alone with my boys. I just said, okay, and then I never signed nothing. I just said
I don't
no.
care whether you signed anything or not. You paid him back, you
I paid
say
him a
what
lot
you
more.
owed him by decreasing the amount that you
Yes.
should have gotten when you sold the house?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you still made a handsome profit when you sold the house, so instead of making $24,000, maybe you should have made $30,000, right? Fine.
Yeah.
You still made a handsome profit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have the opportunity to be there and participate in the rearing of your grandchildren. What a gift that could be if you were nice people.
And later today,
When the landlord showed up the 20th to get rent, he saw holes in the walls that they left in their room and in the door.
Did you make any holes in the walls?
No, ma'am, I did not. Her and her boyfriend be fighting all the time. That's where the hoes came from.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald and Donna Haig claim ex-son-in-law Chris Webster owes for the cost of a washer and dryer. Chris says the Haigs have been ignoring their grandchildren.
Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Haig, do you see your grandchildren?
Right now, no,
Why is that?
because we don't see him.
I'm asking you why.
Because the feelings between him and I,
What kind of feelings?
it's bad.
Why?
I don't
Over what?
understand.
Over what?
Over the payment, because
Over the
he's-
washer dryer?
Over the washer and dryer. Yeah, and also, when I went to talk to him about it, he called the cops up, and the cops told me not to come back to the house. Because if I came back to the house, I would be arrested.
Okay. Now, why don't they see their grandsons?
I have no idea. His birthday, my 8-year-old son, Brandon, his birthday was this past Monday. Not one card, not one phone call, not nothing.
Did you send your grandson a birthday
Yes, I
present?
did.
You sent him a
Where was it?
birthday
Yes,
present?
I sent him a card, yes, I did.
Card. Children like cards. They like presents. Why didn't you send him a birthday present?
Because I had put money in the card for his birthday present.
I don't believe that at all. Listen, if I construe this as a debt, I construe it as a joint debt. As far as I'm concerned, that debt should have been over. Certainly, 8 years later, the statute of limitations has run on that debt in any jurisdiction. And in this court, we use the doctrine of laches, which means if you sit on your laurels and you don't collect the debt, then it's forgiven. More importantly, I don't understand why grandparents, when they have a daughter who takes off, starting a new life, mothers usually don't do that, that are wrapped too tight. Got 2 little boys that she leaves with the father. You're living with the father, so you have the opportunity to be there and participate in the rearing of your grandchildren. What a gift that could be if you were nice people. What a wonderful opportunity that would be for you, madam, to say, look, my daughter's not here full-time. I got the 2 little boys. He's a carpenter. He works full-time. You know, I can be here. I can help shop and cook and take care of the boys if I want to. You're worried about a washer and dryer purchased in 1994. Your priorities are all screwed up, and I have no time for you. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
I'm just glad it's over.
I don't think it was fair.
I don't know how much more money I have to pay.
I'm very upset about it.
Anytime they ever want to do anything with the grandkids,
Oh, I'd like to be part of their lives.
all they have to do is just call.
I want to see everybody together, except I don't want nothing to do with Chris.
Construction worker Todd Newens is suing his ex-wife, daycare provider Nancy Newens, for an unpaid loan for bail after they both were arrested for welfare fraud.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Hello. This is case number 322 on the calendar in the matter of Newens versus Newens. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Newens, when were you and the defendant married?
We were married in June of 1997. Excuse me, 1987.
And when were you divorced?
August of 1996.
Do you have children?
We have 4 children.
From 1987 till 1996, in what state did you reside?
From 1987 to 1996, we resided in California and in Wisconsin.
When did you reside in Wisconsin?
From 1992 to the beginning of 1994.
I ask you this because it is the timeline here is quite important.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, after your divorce, you and your former wife were arrested here in California. And you were arrested on outstanding warrants from the state of Wisconsin for welfare fraud. According to you, there was an agreement between you and your former wife that if you paid whatever fines there were in Wisconsin, which amounted to $4,800, she would give you credit for $2,400 towards what you owed her in child support.
Correct.
Now you've been summoned to court, and you've been told by the judge that you have to pay those arrears, which are probably more substantial than $2,400.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said to her, what about the agreement we had, that you would give me credit for half of that? And she said, we don't have an agreement. So you want $2,400, which is her half of what you paid to the state of Wisconsin in order to get rid of all the charges pending against both of you.
Correct.
You were in the state of California when you were arrested, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Who told you that if you paid this $4,800, you wouldn't have to go back to Wisconsin to surrender yourself?
The district attorney of Allegheny County, Wisconsin.
Now, tell me what the welfare fraud was about from 1992 to 1994.
I believe it's for food stamps and medical aid.
How come there was fraud, sir?
I believe there was fraud because we left the state as we were on welfare to move back to California without notifying the welfare department that we were moving.
You were on welfare in Wisconsin.
We were not collecting money, Your Honor. We were collecting food stamps and we were collecting medical.
Benefits. You were collecting welfare benefits.
Yes.
Is that because you were unemployed?
I was unemployed at the time.
Who were you living with?
Nancy and I were renting a house.
Who paid for the rent on the house if you were unemployed?
We paid for the rent on the house.
How?
Because I got a job at installing garage doors. I wasn't employed the whole time. And it wasn't a sufficient amount of money to support the family. That's why we went for aid.
So your wife stayed at home with the children?
She did.
So So you're telling me that they sued you for fraud for $4,800 because you left the state and they didn't have to pay you money anymore?
We basically left the state, and instead of tracking us down and figuring out that they wanted all of their benefits back, which totaled the $4,880.
Probably the only person in creation that I know that happens to. Usually they say, wow, they're out there with California's problem now. Now, Mr. Newens, how much do you owe in child support, sir?
$10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony.
How come you haven't paid any money?
Well, I've actually paid a lot of money, Your Honor. The reason being is because in the state of California, your ex-wife or whoever's receiving the support can go back at any time and ask for an audit of the payments, which she did. And I had a court order for my employers to pay her directly, which they did, but I had to prove it, and these two employers were no longer in business, so I could not find the record of payments.
So you're telling me that the judgment was entered against you and you have to pay arrears on $20,000 for money that you paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer representing you this time?
No, ma'am. But the litigation went for a whole year. Now, I can't afford a lawyer. I work 60 hours a week to support 4 kids. My ex-wife, since the day we married, has not worked at all and still doesn't to this day. She solely relies on my support to support all 4 kids.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Newens. Now we're going to come to you. He says that you were receiving partial benefits. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea why you were charged with welfare fraud?
It was explained to me when, without notifying the county about our moving, there was a warrant automatically slapped on because there was an outstanding amount that needs to be paid back, like $700 some odd.
For what?
For overpayment is what they called it.
So you were notified that you were receiving overpayment of $700 while you were living in Wisconsin?
Yes.
And you left without paying that amount?
Yes. They were charging us interest and stuff because of penalties on that.
Now, your former husband says that he paid you this money, this $10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony. Is that true, that he's paid you this money?
I have, Your Honor, from the month, some partial payments, and for the last month of October, I received...
Look at me. Now you can speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. $29.90 for the month of October, $500 for the month of September, and before that, nothing. Payments are coming, and partial payments, whole payments, every now and then, off and on through the last couple of years.
Did they come right out of his check?
He's self-employed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong.
And later today,
we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Ms. Harris said.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Todd Newens says ex-wife Nancy Newens owes for an unpaid loan for bail after they both were arrested for welfare fraud. Nancy says Todd doesn't pay his child support.
How long have you been self-employed, Mr. Newens?
Roughly 3 years.
So when you say that your employer, what employer are you talking about that you couldn't find?
The court order dates back to 1997. The amount in arrears they're asking for was for 97 and 98.
Just those 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so this proceeding had nothing to do with current arrears for the year 2000, 2001, 2002. Is that what you're telling me?
What they, I have a court order here that I got from them. What they dated it from 6 of 97 to 10/1 of 02 to make it current.
Mr. Newens, I don't know if you think that I'm not wrapped too tight. I asked you a question. The question I asked you was whether you were telling me that the arrears that they were talking about, that you just had a trial on, dealt with monies that you owed, and you said from 97 and 98.
Correct.
And I said that they conducted a whole hearing for a year and didn't bring that amount up to the current date for arrears, and you said, oh, I have the order. And the order says that those were arrears that you owe from 97 to the year 02.
The reason why they did that, Your Honor, is because we were fighting for the last year in court over the amount of arrears. And it was my burden to prove that all my previous employers paid.
All right, forget the previous employees from 97 to 98. She says she has been receiving sporadic payments. Is that true? And now you're
At times,
self-employed.
yes, it is true.
Sometimes it's true. All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I'm going to get to it, Mr. Newens. Don't pussyfoot around me. Are you
I don't
remarried?
need to. Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have children with your new wife?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's start with August of 2002. How much money did you send to your former wife for child support and alimony in August of 2002?
Your Honor, I don't have that information with me, and the reason why I don't have that information with me is because it's quite irrelevant, because I have an order that you have before you stating the amount I have to pay in arrears of $200 per month.
That's perfect. So what are you bothering me for?
I'm asking for money owed that I can't, that I paid $4,880 for, that I can't get credit through the County of San Bernardino for child support, which, had she not agreed to credit me half, I would have never made the payment. We would have flew back to Wisconsin and fought this battle in court.
So then I'm going to resolve it very quickly for you, sir.
Okay.
From 1992 to 1994, according to you, you had 2 young children, and your former wife was unemployed. She was taking care of the children. It was therefore your responsibility, your contractual responsibility with your former wife, to be the provider. You found that you could not be a provider for your wife and your 2 young children, so you were forced to apply to the state for certain benefits. Then you were advised that there was an overpayment of $700. Rather than taking care of that part of your financial responsibility before you left the state of Wisconsin, you decided to leave the state of Wisconsin and move to California. It was because of that that they issued a warrant for the both of you. You paid that amount. That's not for child support. That's not for spousal support. That's to reimburse the state for money that the state expended on behalf of you and your family because you could not fulfill your end of the contractual marital responsibility with your former wife. And in addition to that, you have continued to accrue arrears over the years, the last 3 years when you've been self-employed. Sometimes you pay, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you send a little, sometimes you send a lot. That doesn't excuse you from working at some point. Are you working now?
Yes, I am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
Right now I do child care. And in the past I was doing dental assisting.
Well, I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy.
Exactly.
And if it's not child care, because child care sometimes is a temporary thing that you do when your children are very little, because that's a way to take care of your responsibility as a stay-at-home parent and also make some extra money. But I'm going to strongly urge you to find a career that you like, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong for your support. You both have to support these children. You both made them now. You're not living together. You're not married. You both have to support them. But she certainly isn't going to give you back $2,400 for money that you owe the state of Wisconsin, sir. Your complaint's dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nancy's been on a free ride for many years, refusing to work.
Should be said and done. It was over in court beforehand.
After she got out of jail, she's freed, the bill's paid. It's the heck with me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morin versus Baird, step forward, please.
Photo technician Joanne Morin is suing her ex-fiancé, construction plans examiner James Baird, for the cost of a cruise ticket. James is countersuing for the return of a suit and for the cost of a vasectomy.
All right, Bert, I've read the papers in this case. Don't get comfortable. We're not going to be long.
Okay.
Miss Morin, you and the defendant dated. You were supposed to go on a cruise together. You couldn't go because a relative, I think your father, became ill. The defendant went with 2 of his children, but your son had paid for the cruise ticket. In any event, you say that he owes you $200. He says, more than happy to give you the $200, right? Give me back my suit that I left at your house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the suit?
Yes, ma'am.
Give him the suit, Bert.
This
I
is
told you,
easy.
this case has lots of little parts, but we're going to handle them all very quickly. Good. Now you have your suit. The suit goes on your side, and plaintiff gets $200. Are you happy? Good. On your side, you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Your counterclaim is twofold. A, you wanted your suit back, you got your suit. You want her, A, to give you back the engagement ring.
Oh, the money for it, yes.
Where's the engagement ring?
I have it with me right here.
Perfect.
You want to see?
No. Goes back. Goes to his team. Happy now? Almost.
Almost.
The other part, you're not going to even be happy that you raised, sir. You want her to pay for a vasectomy that she insisted that you have because she didn't want any more children.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Did she grab you by the hand and take you to the doctor?
No, she...
Very good. Then you don't get paid for the vasectomy. You're over 21, you made a choice. If you don't like the choice, you have to live with it or get it reversed. Goodbye and good luck. That takes care of this.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Actually made a lunch date with his brother to discuss the vasectomy. He discussed it more with his brother than he had with me.
I tried to avoid the whole situation, and it wasn't avoidable.
I think the worst part about the whole thing is that innocent people had gotten hurt because of our actions.
When you fall in love with somebody and they want you to have an operation, I think you ought to think twice.
A dog attack.
Mr. Raleigh, you bought yourself a Tesla.
Yes, ma'am.
A new one?
Yes.
When did you buy it?
I bought it on 6th of June.
Of this year?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it, sir?
68.
And there was a loan on the car?
There's a loan on the car here.
So you have full insurance on the car?
Yes.
What's your deductible?
Deductible is $1,000.
$1,000.
Yes.
This is what your case is about. You were going to check on a child's house of yours.
Yes, ma'am. It's my son's house. I go there every day. We bought that house for on my son's and my name. It's from...
Oh, so it's a house that's jointly owned by you and your son?
Yes, ma'am.
But you don't live there regularly?
I don't live there.
And where does Mr. Miller live?
He lives on a different street, but his backyard and my backyard, they meet each other in the back.
How long have you owned that house?
Since 2014.
Long time.
Long time.
Have you met Mr. Miller?
I met him a few times, yes.
Mr. Miller, you recall meeting Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, ma'am, once.
Okay, but you've met him?
Yes.
Does your son have dogs?
No.
And does the tenant have a dog?
She does.
What kind of dog?
A Yorkie.
You have a Yorkie?
Yes.
It's a small dog.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have one Yorkie in the house, and you have 2 dogs.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind?
A pit bull breed.
Pit bull?
Yes, ma'am.
And the other?
No, both are the same.
Both are the same.
One's actually the mom and the son.
And how old are they?
The mom's 10, the son's about 8.
And you've had them for years?
Since they were born.
So June 16th, you go to check on the house.
Yes.
Tell me what you saw when you pulled up to the house.
When I went there to the house to check my mail, I saw 2